The morning mist clings to FluffTown, but a new chill permeates the air. Whispers now echo from street speakers, carrying unsettling, intimate confessions into the dawn. A baker pauses, hearing his unspoken fear of burnt loaves broadcast for all to hear. His wife stares, recognizing the secret doubt she thought was locked within his heart. Children shrink from their parents, their hidden anxieties about school grades suddenly public. The gentle hum of the town shifts, now tinged with a brittle, disquieting resonance of exposed thoughts. Couples, once inseparable, now stand rigid, their private resentments amplified by the mechanical voices. A woman gasps as her deep-seated envy for a neighbor's perfect garden spills from a lamppost. Her husband recoils, hearing his own fleeting thought of leaving, now a public declaration. The market square, usually bustling, becomes a tableau of frozen faces and accusing glances. Every personal insecurity, every fleeting judgment, becomes a harsh, undeniable truth echoing loudly. Suspicion spreads like a dark stain across the town, dissolving trust with cruel, invisible hands. Friendships fracture under the weight of revealed betrayals, small and grand, now laid bare. The once comforting familiarity of neighbors twists into a gallery of strangers, their inner lives exposed. FluffTown, designed for serene routine, now unravels, atomized by the weaponized intimacy of thoughts. The crew watches from a shadowed alley, their own minds racing with confusion and growing dread. Luma adjusts her goggles, her analytical gaze sweeping the distraught faces below, seeking a source. Tick's sensitive ears twitch, trying to filter the cacophony of exposed minds, searching for a pattern. Pox clenches his jaw, the town's sudden vulnerability a stark contrast to its usual manufactured calm. Stitch clutches her wrench, the metallic coolness a small comfort against the chilling vulnerability of the air. Mosh shivers, feeling the raw, exposed emotions of the townspeople like a physical assault on his senses. The crew knows this is not natural. The Foundation's soothing perfection has found a new, insidious form. This is not chaos, but a calculated unraveling, using the very fabric of thought as its silent weapon. Luma activates her portable scanner, its soft hum a counterpoint to the jarring public thoughts. The device flickers, struggling to pinpoint the origin of the pervasive, mind-piercing broadcast signal. Its readings are erratic. The energy signature are unusual. Unlike any surveillance they've encountered before, the air itself feels heavy with unspoken words, now forcibly released, poisoning the gentle morning. A lone child cries, hearing their secret fear of the dark amplified, making the shadows seem deeper. The crew exchanges grim glances. The battle for FluffTown has just become profoundly, intimately personal. Luma points skyward, her scanner finally locking onto a faint but distinct, emanating source above. High above, on the rooftops, a field of metallic antennas glints, catching the pallid morning light. They tilt in eerie unison like a silent, mechanical chorus, all pointing towards the bewildered town. Luma traces the broadcast, a web of invisible thought waves, converging on these silent, watchful structures. The energy pulses from them, not outwards into the sky, but directly down into the very streets below. Tick closes his eyes, focusing, his enhanced auditory sensors straining against the mental noise. Beneath the cacophony, he detects a subtle, rhythmic pulse, a hidden timing beat, precise and relentless. It is like a colossal heartbeat clock, governing the flow of thoughts, orchestrating the town's unraveling. Pox narrows his eyes, observing the antennas' strange orientation, their metallic stalks angled downwards. They do not seek distant signals from the heavens. They are receivers, or perhaps projectors, for the ground. The realization dawns. These are not communication devices, but instruments of psychological warfare. They're designed to listen, to extract, and then to broadcast the deepest, most vulnerable thoughts. The crew scrambles, moving through the shadowed alleys, making their way towards the highest buildings. The air grows colder, a subtle shift that prickles the skin, a metallic temps on the tongue. The public thoughts continue, a relentless chorus of private fears, driving the town into disarray. Luma calculates the quickest route her mind already devising a strategy to disrupt the insidious network. Her hands move instinctively, adjusting dials, calibrating her tools for the unseen battle ahead. Tick maps the precise rhythm of the timing pulse, realizing its hypnotic potential, its subtle control. He discerns minute variations, almost imperceptible, suggesting the Foundation's deliberate, chilling precision. Pox scales a crumbling fire escape, his movements swift and silent, a shadow against the urban decay. He tests the structural integrity of the old buildings, noting the strange, resilient materials used. Stitch prepares her grappling hook, its metallic gleam reflecting the grim determination in her eyes. Moss scans the rooftops, his keen sight picking out the subtle energy shimmering around each antenna. The city breathes around them, a strained, shallow breath held captive by the pervasive public anxieties. The purring generators of FluffTown seem to hum a different tune now, one of sinister, watchful contentment. The crew feels the weight of the town's suffering. The raw, exposed nerves of its atomized residents, they ascend higher, the wind whipping at their clothes, carrying the faint, distorted echoes of despair. The thought of their own minds being exposed sends a shiver down each crew member's spine. This is the ultimate invasion, a violation of the innermost sanctuary, the private self. Luma scanner emits a high-pitched whine, indicating proximity to the broadcast's core frequency. The antennas seem to hum in response, their silent vigil intensifying with the crew's approach. Each upward step feels heavy, laden with the town's collective vulnerability, its shattered peace. They reach the first rooftop, a desolate expanse of cracked asphalt and rusted vents. The wind whips past them, carrying the scent of ozone and the faint, metallic temps of the antennas. Below, the town continues, its agonizing, unraveling, a testament to the Foundation's cruel ingenuity. The crew moves with purpose, their mission clear. Silence the listening stars, reclaim private thought. Their shadows stretch long and distorted across the rooftop, mirroring their internal apprehension. The air here vibrates with a subtle energy, a pressure against the eardrums almost imperceptible. Luma checks her equipment, ensuring every tool is ready for the delicate, dangerous task ahead. Tick adjusts comes, the faint static, a reminder of the unseen forces at play in Pox secures his grip on his heavy-duty cutters, his gaze fixed on the nearest metallic sentinel. Stitch readies her multi-tool, its various attachments gleaming, prepared for any mechanical challenge. Moss takes a deep breath, steeling himself against the unseen assault, the mental bombardment. The rooftop antennas stand before them, sleek and menacing, like a garden of dark, metallic flowers. They glint under the overcast sky, reflecting the gray light with an almost malevolent indifference. Each antenna emits a soft, almost inaudible tone, a high-frequency hum that makes teeth ache. The sound is subtle yet pervasive, a constant, low thrum that resonates deep within the skull. It feels like a dull pressure behind the eyes, a creeping discomfort that tries to lull the mind. Moss feels a profound sense of exposure, as if his very skin has been peeled away, leaving him raw. He imagines his thoughts, his fears, his deepest memories, floating freely in the charged air. The sensation is unnerving, a violation of personal space extending beyond the physical realm. The other crew members feel it too, a subtle invasion, a creeping sense of being utterly transparent. Luma's scanner pulses erratically, overwhelmed by the sheer density of the broadcast's psychic field. The energy feels heavy, oppressive, pushing down on their minds, trying to enforce a strange calm. Tick winces, the constant hum grating on his sensitive auditory processing, a relentless irritant. Pox grips his tools tighter, the metallic surfaces cool against his sweating palms. A grounding sensation. Stitch feels a faint nausea, the dissonance between her private thoughts and the public air sickening. Moss glances at his reflection in a polished antenna surface, seeing a distorted, vulnerable image. The silence of the rooftop, save for the hum, feels more menacing than the chaos below. This quiet is a predatory quiet, waiting, listening, ready to strike at the most intimate core. They stand at the precipice, a battle for the town and their minds' sanctity. Suddenly, the pervasive hum shifts, morphing into a familiar, chilling cadence on the rooftop. The town speakers below fall silent, but a new, more insidious broadcast begins to emerge. It is their own voices now. The distinct inflections of Luma, Tick, Pox, Stitch, and Moss. An omniscient narration of their deepest fears and secret doubts floods the charged air around them. Luma hears her calculated anxieties about mission failure, her leadership burdens, spoken aloud, her internal struggle with self-doubt, usually meticulously hidden, now echoes, cold and clear. Tick hears his constant worry about his own mechanical parts, failing, his fear of obsolescence, the intricate inner workings of his cybernetic mind, his unique vulnerabilities, are now laid bare. Pox hears his old, gnawing guilt about past mistakes, the faces of those he couldn't save. His stoic exterior cracks as his profound sense of responsibility becomes a public lament. Moss hears his primal fear of isolation, of being alone in the vast, indifferent multiverse. His longing for connection, usually unspoken, now broadcasts with a raw, heartbreaking honesty. Stitch hears her most guarded secret, a memory of a time she nearly gave up, her spirit almost broken. The intimate whisper of her past despair, a moment of profound weakness, now fills the air. She goes utterly still, her wrench falling from her numb fingers with a soft, metallic clatter. Her face pales, reflecting the horror of having her innermost sanctuary so brutally invaded. The broadcast is relentless, weaving their individual fears into a tapestry of shared, public vulnerability. It is a psychological assault, twisting their own truths into weapons against their very resolve. The antennas pulse with a renewed, sinister energy, feeding on their exposed, raw emotions. A voice, distinct from their own, then cuts through the broadcast, a chilling, synthesized whisper. It is devoid of emotion, yet carries an immense, unsettling authority that permeates their bones. The voice reverberates in their minds, seemingly originating from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We made you," it states plainly, the words striking with the force of an ancient, undeniable truth. The implication hangs heavy in the air. Their very existence, their purpose, carefully orchestrated. A cold dread settles over the crew, a realization that their struggle might be part of a grand design. Their identities, their unique skills, their collective mission, all perhaps pre-programmed by the Foundation. The belief in their free will, their agency, shatters under the weight of this chilling declaration. Luma's analytical mind races, trying to reconcile this profound statement with their lived experiences. Tick's internal processors were attempting to identify the source of the voice, its exact frequency. Pox stares at the antennas, a newfound fury burning in his eyes, a desperate need to defy. Stitch remains frozen, her secret now public, her sense of self utterly compromised by the invasion. Moss drops to one knee, clutching his head, the weight of the "we made you" crushing his spirit. The Foundation's reach extends beyond physical control, delving into the very essence of their being. This is the ultimate weapon, not just surveillance, but creation, a godlike assertion of power. The antennas continue their silent vigil, now broadcasting the crew's terror, their internal turmoil. The wind howls around them, carrying the echoes of their fears, a mocking symphony of vulnerability. The city below, once atomized by its own thoughts, now listens to the crew's unraveling. This exposure is a deliberate tactic designed to break their spirits, to render them powerless. Luma forces herself to move, her logical mind demanding action, a counter to this psychological assault. "We break the alignment," she declares, her voice a fierce whisper against the broadcast of her fears. Her mind, despite the torment, begins to formulate a desperate plan, a way to reclaim their minds. The immediate goal is clear: disrupt the antennas, sever the connection, silence the insidious voice. But the deeper question lingers. What does "we made you" truly signify for their future and purpose? Tick, slowly recovering, begins to analyze the broadcast's frequency, searching for vulnerabilities. Pox, fueled by defiance, grips his tools, ready to inflict physical damage on the Foundation's instruments. Stitch, though shaken, finds a spark of resolve, a desperate need to reclaim her violated privacy. Moss resists, his fear slowly transforming into a cold, determined anger against the unseen puppet master. The battle for their minds has begun, fought on a desolate rooftop under a watchful, gray sky. Luma, with urgent precision, begins to introduce phase offsets into the antenna network's frequency. Her fingers fly across her console, inputting complex algorithms designed to disrupt the sync. If the antennas cannot sync their signals, the coherent broadcast of thoughts will begin to fracture. She works feverishly, racing against the relentless tide of their own fears echoing around them. Each adjustment is delicate, a precise manipulation of unseen waves, a dance with the invisible. Pox, meanwhile, moves with brutal efficiency, targeting the physical mounts of the antennas. He uses his heavy-duty cutters, grunting with effort, to bend the metallic structures, misaligning their angles. The metal groans under his force, protesting the disruption of its carefully orchestrated orientation. Sparks fly as he wrenches the mounts, twisting them away from their collective downward gaze. He works with a desperate fury, transforming the Foundation's instruments into broken, useless shapes. Tick, focused and intense. Programs, random timing, jitter into the broadcasts, underlying pulse. He creates an anti-metronome, introducing chaotic, unpredictable delays into the signal's rhythm. This will prevent the precise, synchronized extraction and projection of thoughts, breaking the cycle. His fingers dance across a small, custom-built device, injecting digital chaos into the Foundation's order. The air around them crackles with the conflicting energies, the Foundation's order clashing with their disruption. The broadcast of their fears begins to stutter, fragments of thoughts overlapping, becoming incoherent. Stitch, her resolve hardening, assists Pox, using her multitool to loosen bolts and sever wires. She feels a grim satisfaction as each connection breaks, each component silenced, reclaiming a piece of herself. Moss, standing guard, watches the struggling antennas, their once unified hum, now a discordant whine. He provides a lookout, scanning the surrounding rooftops for any sign of Foundation, interference, or retaliation. The wind picks up, carrying the distorted echoes of their thoughts, now garbled, less potent. Luma makes a final, critical adjustment, injecting a burst of inverse frequency into the network. A wave of static washes over the rooftop, momentarily overwhelming the remaining broadcast. The antennas shudder, their metallic leaves trembling, struggling against the imposed disarray. Pax delivers a final, powerful wrench to an antenna mount, twisting it into a grotesque, broken angle. The structure groans, then finally snaps, sending a shower of sparks across the desolate rooftop. Tick's program fully engages, flooding the network with unpredictable timing, shattering its rhythm. The unified hum of the antennas collapses into a chaotic, sputtering mess of conflicting frequencies. The individual tones of each antenna now clash, creating a jarring, painful cacophony of sound. The broadcast of their fears falters completely, replaced by a garbled, indecipherable white noise. Stitch cuts the final main power conduit to an entire section of the antenna array, silencing it. A profound silence descends over that section, a small victory in the midst of the larger struggle. Moss watches a flicker of hope in his eyes as the insidious psychological attack begins to recede. The pressure behind their eyes eases, the metallic temps in the air slowly dissipating its hold. The air feels lighter, less oppressive, as if a heavy, invisible weight has been partially lifted. Luma checks her console, confirming the disruption, a faint smile touching her lips despite the exhaustion. The core alignment is broken! The Foundation's insidious thought broadcast has been effectively severed, but the struggle is far from over. A strange, new energy begins to permeate the disrupted air. A subtle, soothing tone, almost imperceptible, starts to emanate from the damaged antennas. It is a gentle hum, a lullaby of calm, attempting to reassert control over the newly freed minds. The Foundation always has a backup, a new form of insidious perfection, ready to soothe its subjects. This new hum promises tranquil surrender, a quiet embrace of painless, curated serenity. The soothing tone spreads insidiously, a pervasive, hypnotic hum emanating from the disrupted antennas. It is a gentle whisper, urging everyone both on the rooftops and below, to simply relax. The sound wraps around their minds, a warm, comforting blanket, attempting to lull them into submission. Below, in the streets, people who were arguing moments ago slowly begin to still, their anger dissolving, their faces soften, expressions of distress melting into faint, beatific smiles of manufactured contentment. One by one, residents begin to sit down mid-street, their bodies slumping, eyes glazed with serenity. A vendor drops his basket of bread, its contents scattering, but he makes no move to retrieve them. He simply sits, his gaze vacant, a faint, unsettling smile playing on his lips, lost to the soothing. Couples who have been on the verge of blows now hold hands, their eyes unfocused, their minds elsewhere. The oppressive quiet returns, but this time it is a quiet of enforced peace, a narcotic serenity. On the rooftop, the crew feels the insidious pull of the tone, a desire to simply cease their struggle. Luma fights against it, her mind a fortress of logic, but even she feels a wave of heavy fatigue. Tick's internal processors slow, his systems almost yielding to the pervasive, calming frequency. Pox feels his muscles relax, a strange, unwelcome contentment seeping into his weary bones. Stitch struggles to keep her eyes open, the urge to just rest, to surrender, almost overwhelming her. Moss, however, resists with a primal scream, a raw, desperate cry against the encroaching stillness. He shakes Luma, then Tick, then Pox, his hands frantic, his voice hoarse with genuine fear. "Stay with me," he cries, his voice a desperate plea against the tide of manufactured tranquility. His raw emotion cuts through the soothing hum, a jolt of human agony, piercing the serene facade. The crew members blink, slowly refocusing, Moss's desperate words pulling them back from the brink. They see the danger now, the true horror of this perfection, this weaponized tenderness in action. The Foundation doesn't need chaos. It weaponizes relief, offering a painless oblivion more terrifying than any fight. Luma pushes through the mental fog, recalibrating her scanner to target the soothing frequency. Tick overrides his internal systems, forcing his processors to resist the calming, hypnotic rhythm. Pox clenches his fists, the struggle against the serenity, a new kind of battle. Deeply internal, Stitch uses her multi-tool, jamming a damaged antenna, creating a localized burst of jarring noise. The disruption is small, but it helps break the pervasive spell. A tiny island of resistance? Moss continues to shout, his voice hoarse, his desperation a beacon against the encroaching, silent calm. The scene below is a chilling tableau of surrender, a town lost to a manufactured, blissful stupor. This is the Foundation's ultimate triumph. Not punishment, but a soothing, irreversible control. The crew, with renewed effort, manages to fully disable the remaining active antennas on the rooftop. One by one, the metallic flowers fall silent, their insidious hum finally ceasing altogether. The pervasive, soothing tone dissipates, leaving behind an abrupt, profound, and unsettling quiet. The broadcast stops completely. The city below feels suddenly, eerily empty, devoid of all sound. The public thoughts are gone. The soothing lullaby vanished, leaving a void where sound once was. This silence is not comforting. It is raw, stark, and deeply uncomfortable. A truth without padding. The town slowly begins to stir, residents shaking their heads, their eyes blinking in confusion. The faint smiles fade, replaced by expressions of bewilderment, then vague distress. They look at each other, memories of their broadcasted thoughts, slowly returning, a collective shame. The atomized individuals slowly recohere, but the damage of their exposed minds lingers palpably. The quiet allows for introspection. For the first time, an awareness of their collective vulnerability. Residents begin to rise, their movements slow and uncertain, like puppets whose strings were just cut. They look at the crew, no longer with suspicion, but with a newfound, unsettling directness. For the first time, they begin to ask the crew direct questions, their voices hesitant but clear. "Who are you?" one woman asks, her gaze piercing, seeking answers beyond the manufactured reality. "What happened to us?" another man queries, his face etched with a dawning, terrible understanding. The crew exchanges glances. The silence has brought not safety, but a dangerous, fragile truth. This raw honesty is a new challenge, forcing them to confront the town's awakening head. The Foundation's spell is broken, but the aftermath is complex. The path ahead, uncertain and fraught. The purring generators of the town seem to hold their breath, sensing the shift in the delicate balance. The crew feels the weight of these questions, the burden of newly unveiled reality resting on their shoulders. They have silenced the listening stars, but now the people themselves are beginning to truly listen. This direct engagement is unprecedented, a stark departure from the town's usual blissful ignorance. Luma feels a tremor of unease. Truth, unfiltered, can be as destabilizing as any lie. Tick sensors pick up a subtle shift in the town's overall energy signature, a new, unpredictable flux. Pox stands ready, his posture defensive, anticipating unknown reactions from the newly aware populace. Stitch feels a strange mix of relief and apprehension. The silence, a double-edged sword. Moss watches the townspeople, his empathetic heart aching for their dawning, painful recognition. The true cost of the Foundation's perfection, its weaponized relief, is now slowly coming to light. The crew stands exposed, not by thought broadcasts, but by the stark, demanding gaze of awakening minds. As the crew processes the town's awakening, Luma's portable recorder suddenly begins to hum softly. It emits a signal she didn't capture, a new, distinct frequency that was not part of the broadcast. The device, usually precise, now plays an audio message that seems to materialize from thin air. A voice emerges, schematic and synthesized, yet imbued with an unsettling, gentle warmth. "Come home, maintenance units," it says, the words resonating with a disturbing familiarity. The voice is calm, almost soothing, a stark contrast to the previous. "Chilling, we made you." It is a direct address, a personal invitation that sends a shiver down each crew member's spine. The term maintenance units feels like a brand, a label of ownership, a denial of their autonomy. Luma's eyes widen, her breath catching in her throat as the implications of the message sink in. Tick's internal diagnostics flash red, registering an unknown, powerful external command signal. Pox grips his weapon, his knuckles white, a silent defiance against the implied control of the voice. Stitch stares at the recorder, her face a mask of shock, the gentle command a profound violation. Moss recoils, the soothing tone of the voice more terrifying than any threat, promising a terrible peace. The message repeats, a soft, insistent call, echoing across the silent, newly awakened town. Simultaneously, a strange vibration begins to emanate from Luma's pocket, a subtle, rhythmic pulse. It is the Thorn Key, the ancient artifact they found, now pulsing like a living, beating heart. The key, usually inert, now responds to the schematic voice, drawing energy from the unseen source. Its surface glows faintly, a soft, internal luminescence mirroring the rhythm of a living thing. The connection is undeniable. The Thorn Key is linked to the Foundation, to this voice, to their past. Luma carefully extracts the key, its warmth spreading through her palm, a disquieting familiarity. The voice on the recorder seems to intensify, harmonizing with the key's pulse, a sinister duet. "Your work is done here?" the voice adds, its tone suggesting both finality and a new beginning. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor runs through the very ground beneath their feet. In the distance, on the horizon, a massive, unidentifiable hatch slowly begins to open. It is a colossal portal in the earth, revealing a maw of warm, inviting darkness, a profound abyss. The Foundation calls to them by name, a personal summons, impossible to ignore or deny. "Come home! Luma! Tick! Pox! Stitch!" "Moss," the schematic voice whispers. "It's warmth now, chilling." The open hatch beckons, a promise of answers, or perhaps a deeper, more insidious trap. The Thorn Key pulses violently in Luma's hand, a silent, urgent command, compelling them forward. The crew stands at the precipice, facing a choice between terrifying truth and narcotic perfection.